Hello, I'm Matt Schultz.
And I'm Austin Cummings.
And thank you for tuning in to another Nintendo podcast. This week, we react.
Whoa!
We react in the moment, and not, I mean, right now.
Right, of
to
the moment.
This recent news, Nintendo just dropped around their online services.
Now, it is so exciting. We're just a couple boys here reacting to this news.
Whoa, this is so intense.
We saw this. It came to us as if in a vision in a tweet by Wario64 saying that the new Nintendo online services, as they're being spelled out and translated by the good people at Google Translate, the good robos, and to get us this information we've been just clamoring for. And we saw this and we thought, you know what? We got to grab those mics. We gotta grab crack open a fresh one. Now wait for this. I was waiting to do this. Here we go. Wait for this.
Oh, there it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode brought to you by Cran Raspberry LaCroix. No calories, no artificial sweeteners. LaCroix, reach out to us for a little brand partnership. We're game for it. No worries there.
Yeah, we'll add them in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
we should just start
so let's
promoting
dive
them
right into it. So
yes,
yeah. So I mean, first it dropped in Japan, and then there was all the Google Translator.
And you gotta remember,
posts
Japan is a good collection of hours ahead of us. So everything's gonna hit them first, and then it just trickles back to us. I assume somewhat dozen hours later.
Nintendo, I mean, the Nintendo of America tweeted it out 40 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, officially.
U.S. time, dog years. Yeah.
Dog years, yeah.
Because, Matt, let me tell you something. It's felt like dog years, not that that means anything, since the Nintendo Switch came out and there were no cloud saves and people along the internet.com were clamoring for them. So today is really an exciting time to be alive, really.
Right. So okay, yeah. Let's jump into that.
Because prior to this,
so
the big
thing is
cloud saves. There wasn't anything to talk about Nintendo-wise until just now, and now it's like my brain is. It was very slow. But yes, Matt, take us away. So how do they unroll this? How do they lay out the red carpet straight into the cyber realm? How do they do it?
Well, series of tweets.
Great.
But they've completely updated their website, all kinds of links. But I'll roll it out. Basically, the finer details, right? So obviously, cloud saves, number one thing.
Right.
We're all super excited about that.
That's huge. We were just talking about, Matt, a few episodes ago, and I've looked at it now a few times, these old episodes. We'll talk about it later. But we were talking about the charging and the bricking and the fact that there are no cloud saves. And it's hard to believe that in this short time, which is either 1 month or 1 year or whatever since the Switch launch, a year and 2 months, now we're finally there, which is, for Nintendo, that's a rapid pace.
Right. Yeah.
That's an F-Zero Grand Prix. And as far as I'm concerned, that's quick. That's quick for them to roll out a feature like
this. Well, you have to, this is something they knew they needed on the Switch well before they started developing the system. I have to believe they're like, yeah, we need to jump into the future and start doing these things and charge for an online service and have, actually, and by the way, they're charging because it better be good.
This is true, but but the long-standing theory as to why they weren't talking about it was like, oh, Nintendo, they're very conservative about these things. They don't want to open themselves up to some type of exploit where people could get their saves into.
So we've
online.
all been conditioned to believe that. Are they working on it, or are they just resting on their old conservative? Nintendo
right, it's got them to the party, but how much further does it take them? Because part of it last week, I don't think we talked about this, but there was an exploit discovered, which has been a long-standing exploit for the NVIDIA chipset that the Switch uses, where you can basically, it's a hardware issue, so it cannot be easily patched. Could not be patched at all, but a way to move those saves onto the computer. And so people were talking like, hey, if it can be done by these hackers and it can't be patched, what then is Nintendo's excuse for not doing it?
Right. And so so
cloud saves. It's
darn. It's darn.
It's a root to
really
time.
Hard to not curse.
We've been talking about cursing a lot and just kind of the kind of person you become and the man you do or don't want to be. It's a family show. We have a lot of kids listening to this. We get 22 views an episode. If 3 of those are kids, that's a robust.
Oh, kids, excuse me.
Yes, of course. Other people that aren't us hitting refresh and listening to it 3 times a day. Yes. So, but yes, it's a root tootin' good time with the cloud saves. Matt, what else is coming up in this?
All right, so aside from being able to play all the games we've enjoyed playing for free, including Splatoon, Mario Kart, ARMS, soon to be tennis in June.
Ooh,
super excited about that. And Sushi Striker, which, by the way, I didn't realize that was a Nintendo published and developed game.
You bet it is. It's right in the realm of the Dylan's Rolling Western of like strange
right.
Nintendo IP
But it does,
thing.
you know, I did see it from afar at PAX, and it looked beautiful.
Yeah, no.
Anyways.
I'm interested.
So we're getting NES games, and that's not news, but it is
a specific list
because they did detail some of them.
Right.
So first of all, have you ever played soccer or tennis?
If you mean IRL, that is very rude for you to suggest it because you know the answer is not well. I have not played NES soccer. I have played tennis. And the Game Boy version of tennis, which is just a remake of the NES one. But I don't think I've played soccer. But yeah, Matt, tell us what games are going to come at launch. What are the launch line of NES games? Because there are 20. 20 are the...
Aside from those two wonderful sports, which I at one point tried out for in high school and did not.
I didn't even try out. That's how I kind of steer clear of it, you know? You can't get bullied if they never see you. You know what I mean? You can't get pushed in a locker if they don't even know you are enrolled in the school at all.
I actually did get in a fight in a locker room.
No
in
way.
High school. I popped a guy right in the nose.
No,
I'll tell that story later.
That is incredible, and I'm sure
he was the bad guy.
Right, he was the bad guy, and you were the bigger man who punched him in the face.
I was the bigger man who broke his nose.
Did you really break it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my god, that is wow! All right, well, that's about the end of the show. So now it's like kind of you don't mess with ANP. I suppose
he called me and my family some derogatory.
Yeah. Okay.
Things.
Yeah. No, for sure.
He was kind of like the Doyle family, you know, who just like felt him and his brothers were the best.
The Doyle? I'm getting.
Yeah, Doyle rules.
What the heck is Doyle rules? Is that like a bad Leave It to Beaver, the darker version, like the
Doyle rules. That's from damn, what movie is that?
Oh, well, you just did a cuss. You just did the very thing where root.
I know.
I don't know.
A Doyle rules.
I want to say like a Disney. We need to get actual teens or kids on here to react to a Doyle rules because now I don't even know and I want to know what they think.
I was gonna say it's Billy Madison.
Oh, Billy Madison. Yes.
Billy Madison.
I don't subscribe to the Adam Sandler films.
Oh, damn it!
So now on Netflix, the new Adam Sandler and Chris Rock movie. Check it out now before it's gone never, because that thing is sitting right on there, giving you those trailers every time you log in. Yes, okay, Doyle rule is good to know. Well, that's our episode.
So Ice Climbers, Legend of Zelda, Balloon Fight, Mario Bros, Super Mario Bros.
It's not just Mario Bros anymore. We're getting out of the pipe world and we're walking around. It's Super Mario Bros now, baby.
Dr. Mario.
It's not just Super Mario Bros anymore. Now you're a doctor. You went to med school and you're a PhD. And now
favorite Super Mario Bros 3.
Right, okay, it's not just your doctor anymore. Now there's 3 people that walk around. They're Super Mario 3.
Donkey Kong.
And Donkey Kong. Yeah, that is good.
And those are just the 10 that are being
revealed now. Yeah, there's 10 more.
There's more.
20 total. Now, do we know, Matt, yet how often those are cycling, or are those going to stay around for? Do we have any idea?
No, so they didn't make any mention around that. They didn't chat about that. Everything's like more information to come before the system launches, which is really interesting because we're getting all these details now.
Right, pre-E3.
E3 is a month away.
And this would have been a big deal. This is like a big deal for Nintendo. Even though it shouldn't be, this is a big deal for Nintendo. It's kind of like when Xbox 2 E3s ago, I believe, I think 2015, made the announcement that there's some backwards compatibility. Which, like, on the surface is like, isn't that something you should have? Although that is a bigger deal than this in some way.
Got a great response.
Yeah, that's awesome.
At E3,
and then it's like now we're a couple years into it, you know, and there's so many great, like, the only way to play Red Dead Redemption 2 on console is to play backwards compatibility. Like, that feature set is so built out. Your games with gold every month include 360 titles that it just adds extra on top of it, where the PS4 you still cannot play downloaded PS3 games or 2 or 1, and so it's turned into this really robust and awesome feature. This probably is not quite the same because it's just parity with the other consoles, but for Nintendo and how generous the fans, such as ourselves, tend to be, this would have been a huge moment. So I'm surprised.
Right. Well, so I think it's because it's a way of them nodding at the fact that, hey, we are behind.
They're ashamed.
This like
please understand.
Please understand. This is, I think, a big announcement, but something. It's kind of exciting that they didn't announce this at E3. One, because this is like an expectation.
Right.
Like
right.
At this point in 2018, this shouldn't be like the big reveal at E3.
In the year of our dog.
However, I think getting it out now is a good way of saying like, it's big news, but we want to spend E3 talking about much more, a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
We'll mention this during E3. We may drop a couple of new things you haven't heard, like the other 10 games, or I don't know, the way the online feature is going to, the app is going to work with some of these things differently, because what they say.
Now I gotta cut you off for like 1 second, and I like that, and I see where you're going, but I got like, this is now us giving Nintendo. It's back to us giving them a lot of credit. They do one good thing, and now we feel like, oh, you know what, we can trust them, no worries. And then it's like, they're going to come out and they're going to be like, it's Sushi Striker to the 3DS, a full demo, and then be like, all right, thanks for tuning in. Catch our stage show in Nintendo Treehouse. But yes, I'm with you. Talk about the phone app. What do you think they're going to do at the event?
Well, they said, specifically, online, they say that there's more advanced features coming to enhance the online experience with the app that you don't have if you're like, the app's available, the app is there if you're not in the online service, or if you're not a subscribed member, but there's enhanced features they haven't really spoken to yet. So I'm not sure what that looks like.
Yeah,
what that means.
The back. So I texted a couple friends when I saw this news. Yeah, and just kind of wanted to get their reactions, because I want to have teens react as much as possible in my day-to-day life, and I like to experience that through them. But what I noticed, like sending it to them, is the people fall into a camp, and I think this kind of goes back to why it might not be at E3, right? Because like my friends that I sent to my core like Nintendo friends, we all have Nintendo consoles, we've been playing Nintendo things, Smash, all our life together. Right. These are grade school friends. Sent them the info, and they're like, awesome, it's about time, like can't wait, right? And then I sent it also to some of my college buddies who we played Nintendo with me, but they would always, come to my room, we'd play a game, and they did actually buy Switches, but they've never really had a Nintendo console before. Maybe they had a GameCube or something, but they've been pretty tuned out to most of the gaming in general. And their responses have been negative. They've been like, I guess it's cool, but it's a bummer about paying for the online service. And I think, for you or I or the core gamer, it's like the feeling of, I'm already paying for all these services. And this service, we haven't talked about the pricing yet, is much less expensive. So it's like not a big deal. It's like a whatever.
It's really, it's very hard to be
and
upset.
I think for people like you or I who buy a lot of games, we're in the ecosystem a lot, we're putting a huge number of hours into the games we enjoy, the save file is really precious to us, and we don't want to lose it. So for me, at least, it's like a security blanket. Whereas I think for them,
I'm just hoping my Switch can hold that until September.
Don't use the third-party dock. But it's like I think for us, it's like, it's a good, we are invested time-wise into it in a way that maybe other people aren't, and so the cloud save thing is like just a sigh of relief to some degree, unless I destroy it between now and then. Who's to say? But like when I'm just getting worked over on Kirby Star Allies, it's just too tough, and I throw the thing against the wall. But let's talk about, for a second there, Matt, the price. So the service will cost $4 a month, which would be expensive, not the preferred way to buy it.
$8.99.
Thank you. $7.99 for 3, or $19.99 a year. So that's definitely good value.
Right.
And then,
which is great.
Which is
but
very,
then they
very
have
good.
this family membership,
which is curious because it's
so curious.
So it's $35 a year. I assume $34.99, but the article.
Can we get 6 more friends? That's what I'm trying to hit at, right?
Right. And do I have enough time to come up with 6 additional friends between now and September? And that's a time pressure. I don't know if I can. Even just not even Nintendo related. Like, can I come up with 6 other people to have like enough of a positive interaction with? Yeah. So the way the family membership works is it's 8 family. Yeah, like and subscribe and call me. Allowing up to 8 family accounts to use the same subscription for $35 a year. Wario64, who tweeted a lot of this information to start, kind of broke a lot of this news. He mentioned, this guy, or she, I suppose, is always breaking down deals for us. And so in theory, we don't know how that's going to work, and I could see Nintendo kind of having it be pretty exploitable. In theory, it could be $4.38 a year if you just get your buddies onto it as well. So it's not clear.
In their FAQ
Mhm.
page, they kind of acknowledge that's a question around like how do I sign up for the family
And so
group?
on May 15th, you're going to be able to make a Nintendo account family group. So we're going to find out really at that point what that looks like. The one thing I want to duck right back to briefly is we don't know how the games are going to work. They said previously when they announced that it was going to be like Dr. Mario and Super Mario Brothers, like it wasn't as robust as this one has seemed, right? No mention of Virtual Console, but they made it seem like in the past, and the way they've announced it this time is that it'll have new features in these games, which is very cool. It'll have online features, but we do not know if you got to keep these games or if it's like an ever-growing library of just streamable games. Can I take these things on the go with me? How does it work? Do they have an expiration? Other features can have that on other consoles where it's like, hey, you got to check into the internet to use it every once in a while, and once it hits this date, you can't adjust the system's internal clock, and the game locks out. As Nintendo's, are their settings even secure enough to pull something like that off for a system that is largely not connected to the internet, most of the time, or as a marketing aspect? So interesting to see. I really hope they let us keep these games, or I just hope it's an ever-growing library and the games are never removed. How lame would it be to have like Super Mario Brothers 3 disappear and then be like, but soccer is sticking around and now here's baseball? Like, that would be a bummer. So I hope they don't touch it, especially if Virtual Console is going to exist in this form. I hope it's like a growing, some type of growing platform. It's just a little hard to believe they would ever do this for like anything that's not NES. Like, would they ever give us like Link to the Past is now free? They're never going to do that. These are all the games that are like comfortable,
right.
getting rid of.
Well, so I mean, they do say that there's more enhanced features coming. Special deals and offers for members. I don't know. We don't know what that means, what that looks like in the future. If that means like, here's all these SNES games that you can buy.
Yeah, I wonder because on the deal thing. So for the Wii U, you might remember if you bought the deluxe edition, you got like kind of entered into an ambassador program of sorts where it was like every time you bought a digital game, you got discounts. Yeah, exactly. And it was like pretty robust. I think you got like $5 or so back each time, which is, that's significant. And enough, and I already buy everything digitally, and it'd just be another reason for me to, give those profits right back to Nintendo, cut out the GameStop or the middleman or the shipping the case and the cartridge, which is a big expense. Like, I wonder if we'll see like some type of loyalty program a little more effectively than the one we currently have. That would be neat, more rewarding.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see how this all rolls out, and how we'll be, how we're going to be rewarded for as
right, exactly.
for our $20 a year, which is, it just seems like, I guess I don't need to be rewarded that much because I'm really only giving you $20.
I know, and this is the question we've talked about because it's like I played. We'll talk about this later, but it's Splatoon over the weekend as part of the Slapfest.
Right. Our team lost.
I cannot. I am going to use a cuss right now, and I say cowabunga to that. But I will say, like, the services worked fairly well as far as like online, but it's still not like totally the fastest. Like, you occasionally have an enemy where it's like, I hit him enough times, why is he not? Why have I not defeated this character? Yeah. Like, it can be a little wonky. Overall, it was like totally pleasant and fine, and I wouldn't even say it was like terrible by any stretch of the imagination. But I would say like the caveat's always been it's free, so I do really hope I don't see them like putting new like servers for Splatoon, or like I don't see them being like, oh, we're gonna rework Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's like very dated online system. You like cannot join same thing goes for Splatoon. You can't join a friend in like you can't party up and go into a match. You have to like join a friend who's in a match, hope they have enough space, or wait for forever. And then if one of you needs to bow out for a second, you're doing the whole waiting game again, where you're spectating, assuming there aren't even too many people such that you can't even spectate, which happens in Mario Kart. Like, it's a mess, and it's very dreadful, and I do not see them touching those up. I think they're just going to keep them as they are. There hasn't been enough backlash because it's been free, more than likely. But I hope, like, if there's going to be a payment, particularly for Smash Bros., it's going to be robust and reliable.
Right, and I mean, I think it makes sense that why this is coming out in September, and obviously we have a major multiplayer, potential major online game coming, in November, whenever that comes out. But I am like, I'm just upset thinking about it. Like, like, yeah, okay, I gave him a pass on some of the BS around, not being able to to spectate Splatoon matches I'm trying to join.
Right.
There was an issue in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe joining friends initially.
So bad. I mean, yeah, it still works really
even though
poorly.
you could do it fine, and there was like a feature on the Wii U that you suddenly couldn't do on the Switch.
Right. You can't join people. It's not like the friends list. You can't hop into a game. You can't send people messages.
Right.
So the question then, Matt, is, because I would pay. I know this is. I do a lot of these things, but like I would pay $20 for these NES games and cloud saves. So I wonder if that's how Nintendo's positioning it, and they're not going to adjust any of their notoriously poor network infrastructure, and instead it's like. Because the things announced today, that feels like a $20 value to me. So it's like, is that the hope? They keep it just lean enough as a service that you don't get upset?
Maybe. And maybe that the revenue from this is for, to cover a lot of the cost of what it takes to maintain a bunch of saves somewhere. I don't know.
I suspect
Are they
it's
going
for
to
the
improve
online
the service for these other games?
Yeah, I just
Probably
wonder.
not.
I feel like if they didn't announce these things and it was just $20, I would actually have more faith that they would improve their network. The fact, if it were like just $20, I'm not saying I would like this, but then I'd be like, okay, well, they must be putting it back into this.
Well, I think they're
going to use it for
analyze
that,
all the data on this. They're going to see how how many people are paying, how many people are what's the sudden drop off in Splatoon now?
Right, but do they care? They don't make any money.
Really
on that.
interesting.
I mean, apart from people just keeping it alive in the community, buying the next one. They don't have microtransactions besides this one piece of DLC announced. So yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if they figure the $20 thing is going to let them focus on the infrastructure, but no one's going to be like, they don't have to watch their backs about it because they've given us enough other features between the games and the saves.
Yeah,
I wonder. Let me just really quickly break down one last thing, Matt, and this is on a Kotaku article, so I'm looking at it by Jason Schreier, and in the comments he talks about there's a chart about what features are going to be paid for and which are going to be free. I think it's pretty obvious for people that are in the know enough to be enthusiasts like ourselves, and I've come to expect what is part of a Xbox Live Gold versus Xbox Live Silver, the things that's you can still use the store.
So walk me through it. My Switch right now, I have come September, I am a non-paying member. What am I still able to do?
Well, you're not allowed to speak to me because I do have standards on there, and I just feel like if you're not willing to,
technically I won't be able to speak to you over
certainly not Nintendo voice chat.
Won't have that feature.
Okay, so in terms of things you can do without paying, you can still update your Switch. You can download software updates as well. You can use the eShop. You can still use all the friend functionality. You can share screenshots. I'm a little... do we know how that works, actually? So it says share of shot game screen on SNS because it's all a Google Translate.
Yeah, you can. Well,
so I assume it's saying sharing screenshots.
The same way you could still do it. Where you take a screenshot, you go into the Photos app.
Can you send people screenshots currently?
You can't send them. You could send them to. You can send them to social media and then from there do whatever you want. But they usually just post. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And the last one, which is use of Nintendo Miyamura Switch. No idea what that is, and that might just be a Google Translate thing.
On the United States website, it's share screenshots to social media.
Okay, what does the next one say?
Access to Nintendo Switch parental controls app.
Okay.
Register and manage friends.
Right.
Access to eShop, like you said, and then system updates. Those are all
okay. So basically, everything you are doing now. The only things that are added for this, so you get subscriber only benefits. Don't know what that means, but that's something you get by subscribing. Obviously, name implies. And then you get applications for the smartphone, right? So that is only going to be phone. Do we know if that's like the things we have now, like the pairing up, and it must be, right? Like in Splatoon.
It's basically the online app itself. It will just be
a paid thing,
completely useless unless you subscribe to it.
And I would argue right now, completely useless. So we're basically there already. Right. And then you get the cloud save data as well as the online multiplayer. So that's the one thing that's changing from how we have it currently. And then finally, I should have really used the English one because I'm having a hard time with this. But the Switch software from the Famicom is how it's described here. But of course, the NES game. So it's
and special offers, whatever that looks like down the road.
Only benefit thing.
Like special offers for members specifically, which could be worth it.
Right. Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe throw us a couple of themes, Nintendo. Maybe a couple of themes.
I know, that would be great. I just do feel...
Give me one that says I am a day one subscriber.
Right, exactly.
That's it. I'll put that in the background on my Switch.
Right, and then you can just be, and then when the service like is a sham and terrible, and you're paying for things we already have, people will be like, "Wow, great, day one, way to go, champion of the people's play." Yeah, no, that's it's exciting. Cloud saves are exciting. The game was just nice to see. Hopefully, the rollout is robust, and more details come soon with those other games, and if there will be any changes to the network.
Yeah, agreed. Should be fun.
Woo-hoo!
All right, so that was our ANP headliner. So I guess we'll just move on and get into our next
let's do
session
it.
here. The confessions. What have you been buying?
Okay, Matt. I don't think I purchased anything in the last week. So when we last recorded, I was in Chicago and played.
That was awesome.
That was great, and played some 3DS on the way back. I don't think I've actually bought anything recently, game wise.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Good,
That's okay.
You know,
did you get that new 2DS XL?
Getting it tomorrow.
Wow, what shipping method did you possibly select?
That's a great point.
Super duper saver. They run it to you on foot. And
No. It's so I think we established that. I work at a university. I live at the university. The system has arrived, but I don't get mail directly to the place I live. So it's sitting in a
That is cruel.
box
You should
in a
absolutely
back room.
do an unboxing for it, even though there's not really a need for that type of content. There is certainly not a need for this type of content either, and here we are. So you should definitely think about doing an unboxing. That'd be very good. Just initial impressions. In any event, that's exciting. Good for you. Any other?
I did get to hold Austin's Pokemon.
You did.
Pokeball one.
Right, that is not a euphemism, but you did pick up the new TSXL. That is very exciting. Okay, what about what you've been playing? What are your salvations of the week?
Oh well, for me actually, so this is I guess a confession about my salvations. So I come to this podcast less wise. I had my all four of my wisdom teeth removed last week.
Oh my gosh!
On Tuesday. You're
very brave.
Yeah.
I hope you got yourself a treat after that.
I did not. In fact, I thought, great, I'm taking days off work. I'll say, I don't have nothing else to do. I'll play I'll play a bunch of games. I was KO'd. The painkillers and the medication I was on just knocked me out.
In addition to
day.
the meds and the pain-killing methods you already employ on a regular basis, you know what I mean? When you kind of pop
right,
just to get yourself through the day, which I know you
working
told me in confidence,
college students.
Right. No, that's brutal. I'm sorry. A fun fact about me, not that fun. I had 6 wisdom teeth.
What?
So how about you never complain to me again about your wisdom teeth experience? Because it could have been 50% worse. Wow. I know. I had 6.
You still and you had them all. You had them all. Removed.
I had them all yanked, all yankaroo. They just kind of, classic case of strapping my
Did they give them
teeth
to you?
up.
Did you make a necklace out of those?
Strap them up to. I'm trying to create an image here. Strap that rope up to your teeth. Then they attach it to the door and they give it one big slam. And out all 6 came. No, I did not get any, but I wish that I had. I could have, if anything, I could have repositioned them and kind of got my little shark teeth rows going on, which when I was a young boy, a younger and boyer than I am now, I had kind of 2 rows of teeth, even on the bottom, which I don't think is like so bizarre, but my baby teeth basically refused to fall out. So I had like briefly this like little shark look, which I really... I've always just kind of connected with their plight and kind of what they're up to and and anyway, the 6 wisdom teeth was just like the ultimate confirmation of that, because I can assume sharks have just a great many wisdom teeth because they are the wisest creature of the sea. They call
another wisdom tooth podcast,
right? And that's another more wisdom teeth update. Well, were you going somewhere with that before?
Lots of friends came over to assist me, make sure I was fine, film me while I was super high on meds,
nice.
All the things.
Pika!
But one of them noticed my SNES Classic, and was like, "Oh, can
they're like, I'm going to do a theft."
Right. we played some Super Mario Kart.
Wow.
So that was fun.
I will say this. Yeah. Love the SNES Classic. Matt, you and I have talked about, sound off in the comments if this appeals, doing like a playthrough, like a book club of a game on there for people to join us, and we can talk about kind of doing a deep dive into an SNES game, which would be very fun. But
Yeah.
what I noticed for that thing, love that it came with 2 controllers, but not really that many games you want to play 2-player, is my feeling on it.
No. However, I actually wanted to bring this up because we were talking about
Kirby's Dream Course.
Online
Very
service.
good.
I'm talking about the playing online with friends in some of these NES games. Yeah, they're NES games, but I think it'd be fun for you and I to play through a game together.
FIFA anymore? You got soccer, plain and simple. There's no fuss, just you, the ball, and a couple other
Mario
boys.
Aces when you've got
tennis. I don't need no power up and no Koopa Troopa. I just need a racket and my own 2 feet because I'm running up and down the court and I'm slamming it. Yeah, I know it would be very fun, and we still definitely want to do that playthrough. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
So, any corrections from
probably, but not that I'm aware of, and not that I'm willing to discuss. I'm sure we will have gotten some of those NES details.
This is a stupid segment. We should just get rid of this one. We're always right.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's the correction is ever doubting ourselves.
I don't think we haven't been goofing it a little bit, other than
only because our fan check-in, King D, our boy, did not. I don't think he posted anything last time besides Fresh Boys, which was a great comment. I really enjoyed that. Live Boys, like that. It was very Stay Fresh, Splatoon, because our show last
that would
week
have been a
live.
great podcast name.
Fresh Boys. It's not
Fresh Boys podcast.
It's not too late, frankly, and we might get a lot of people looking for other types of content, and they would be pleasantly surprised.
We need to get our name out there.
Whatever it takes.
All right. So speaking of King D. Fan check-in time.
I don't think it was only that comment, but King D, we miss you. Come back to us. No other fans. Nothing else to report.
Time for the big and news.
Actually, I want to say something really fast. Whoa, dial it back. This is that's the backwards voice. I was gonna say, Matt, we've been expanding a little bit our reach in the digital ether as far as content out there. We are on another Nintendo podcast at gmail.com. Reach us there. Yep. We are happening imminently. Matt, we're going to have our iTunes stuff up for our SoundCloud account. But the other thing is, you know what?
Super exciting.
We're now on Twitter as well. So we took the plunge. We paid the fee.
We're tweeting.
We paid the fee for it. We figured it was a worthy investment. Paying a broker for that monthly Twitter fee. And so we're on there. So, and actually kind of a fun. I thought a fun kind of promotional bit we could host for that is if you go right now on Twitter and you like us, it's ANP podcast because ANP was not long enough, so we had to put podcast there. So it's podcast, forgive me. But if you like it as part of this fun promotion, you will get, in fact, the honor of being the first person to follow us there.
That's what you get. It's great. We'll take a screenshot and tweet that out.
We will tweet it and say, thank you so much, Mom. Because I know you're on there.
Actually, my grandma just added me on Snapchat today.
No way.
I was like, wow, grandma.
And she's like, you click on it and it's her with a dog face and a big old tongue.
She could be our 4th follower. Or, we'll see.
Well, we're not on Snapchat yet, but give us a minute. We certainly have earned it.
My grandma actually is quite the nerd. She's played lots of video games. She's read all of Game of Thrones. She's read a ton of comics growing up.
That's awesome.
She's literally seen every single episode of Star Trek.
Wow. No, that's impressive. Well, Matt, my grandma and I have watched all the Marvel movies, and we recently saw The Infinity War. And
I finally saw it.
Oh, it's so good. We should talk about it, but we should crank through the rest of this. But what was your? Give it a really fast. Give it a review.
Start. Big end news, right? We got.
So number one. So Thanos. Did you see it coming?
I actually love Thanos in this film.
All
right. So number one, job listings reveal that Nintendo.
I think it's very rude how you're
working
brushing
on another Zelda game, right? So there's a level design job for the Zelda franchise.
Right.
Job posting in Japan.
I will say
Nintendo actually tweeted it out. And so people are like, "Oh my gosh, they're working on the next Zelda."
Right, this is gonna be my criticism.
Duh.
Come on, nerds! Get your head out of the toilet where someone gave you a swirly for being too much of a nerd. Get it out of there because it's like Nanuma and his team, and he didn't direct for a while, but he's a head honcho. I believe he didn't direct. And corrections. Here we go. That's why we're keeping the segment. But it's like all they do are the Zelda games. It's just one Zelda to the next. Sometimes 3DS, sometimes Wii U. sometimes not at all. But it's like it's always Zelda, so it's like, come on, people! Unless they're all just taking a sabbatical after the DLC. Of course, they're looking for this.
I mean, I personally hope it's more DLC.
Oh,
more
DLC.
The world's too great. It needs more. Early E3 prediction. Anyway, so yeah, that's happening. We'll move on. Number 2, Nintendo is being sued.
Fun. Kids react to litigation.
Maker. Yeah.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it right now. Tell us about it, Matt.
So GameVice is a U.S. company, and
USA,
is filing a trade patent.
Hope they win.
Violation, right? So there's a U.S. trade investigation going on. This company makes these little slide-on peripherals for mobile devices, mostly phones and tablets. And they're kind of basically like dongles with buttons.
I've been called that myself before. People call me a glorified dongle from time to time.
with shark teeth.
With shark teeth, right?
And so I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast,
oh my God, please.
you probably you've seen this, you've heard about this
on YouTube. Get back to somewhere with views. Hurry, run!
What are you doing here? Oh my God! Get out of here!
We've been trapped here for 40 years. Now. This is our purgatory.
What years?
What year? Who is the president? Are you sure? Must it be that way? It's Back to the Future 2, baby.
So GameVice, you might remember, filed a lawsuit against Nintendo in 2017, which was quickly got pulled. And at first, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is a troll, like a
patent troll,
company that's trolling."
Gotta pay the troll toll if you want to get the Nintendo litigation going.
Right. However, this one actually is being investigated, and
by Mueller.
I don't really know what else. Right now it's just kind of up in the air. But you got to imagine Nintendo is going to put all their best people.
And Nintendo has a long history, Matt, of being up in the air. I mean, consider Balloon Fight for just a moment. Those characters, they just attach some balloons and they're right up in the air too. So I feel like Nintendo's really laid the groundwork, or rather the aerial work for this, and I think they're going to be just fine. Personally, I prefer the air.
They've definitely prepared for. I think every console they
for sure. This stuff happens all the time.
Done all their research, they're prepared, or they've got people, they got lawyers in line waiting, for people to knock on the door for some of Nintendo's.
They want to chomp with their own shark teeth, and they're not going to have it. Yeah, this one as just the example image, at least in most of the articles, has been. There's 2 attachments onto like an iOS device, something to give it some tactile feedback. It does resemble a Switch when you do that, but it seems like a real stretch. I don't suspect it's going anywhere. But then again, you never really know for these things, because for us it's like, okay, please, we know that's not the same. It doesn't work like a Joy-Con. It's not snap on, snap off. It doesn't, there's no handheld and the other view. And, when you have like, so for us, we can tell the distinction, but you always do wonder, like in front of a jury or a judge, probably a judge. I doubt it goes to a jury, but like, is that something that they can make the distinction on, or do they see this and they're like, why, those are Joy-Con, they look the same, like it is a ripoff. You wonder. So a lot of these things end up getting settled, for that reason.
Right, and it's all about this particular suit. It's all about how they're being used. They're in the manner of sliding on and off, specifically like the Joy-Cons and how they have to do that. And the defendant, GameVice, is basically saying that that's the without that infringement, without sliding on or off, and Nintendo system wouldn't have substantial use. The Joy-Cons wouldn't be used a lot because they need to charge by sliding on and off. And then so right now, like it's specifically about how their controllers attach to said mobile device. That allegedly infringes on GameVice's patent. So
yeah,
we'll see how this one plays out. Probably, and
we might never know.
Third party will settle.
Right, exactly. We might never even really figure it out. But it is worth mentioning because it's news. Okay, next up, Matt. Nintendo says a 3DS will keep being sold unless the Switch becomes a one-person system.
Right. So this is actually super interesting. So by one person, right, they mean that it's this idea that, well, a lot of people in a household bought 3DSs. Some households have 10 3DSs. Austin Cummings.
Called out.
But you know, there are
My
households
parents bust down the door and they're like, "We knew you were keeping more than one in there. It's gluttonous."
Your father hasn't ran over all your 3DSs with a lawnmower yet?
Well, that's how they teach me. If I forget to take out the garbage and recycling, they take one of my 3DSs, they put it in the disposal. So recently lost that Majora's Mask 3DS XL, but my doing, I could have taken that out earlier, I guess.
So Nintendo wants to see the Switch do this. You know, they're really like, well, you know, Nintendo's used to having a device in the hands of the masses, or multiple devices in a household. Via the Game Boy line, Advance, etc. So especially DS and 3DS, and I think they like that. I mean, who wouldn't like that? And I like the idea of like, I still want something like even more portable.
I know. I want like if there were to be, I want like another form factor or something. But yes, I'm with you.
We've talked about
this so many times, and so I was going to mention earlier when we talked about the social media stuff that we're now ANP is on. So Matt and I have been pulling together stuff to there's content on iTunes. Want to make sure it's appropriate with the swearing, and that's why we're mentioning it. But I went back and re-listened to a bunch of old episodes, and doing so, looking for cusses and writing them down and sending text to Matt and saying, "How could you?" And then finding that I did a swear and like just not mentioning it. And so, but basically, in listening to the episodes, I've realized, especially myself, I'm guilty of bringing up the same topic like every time. I feel so tired from work. I think maybe it's that, or I have some type of like terrible memory loss issue that this podcast is bringing to light. But like every time I bring up the same Dragon Quest facts and like the very same like opinion on 3DS things and yada yada. So we have talked about it at length, but the way in which this is expressing itself is interesting to me only because Nintendo had just said when they talked about their E3 plans, you know, they were going to continue to support the 3DS through 2019, and this is a little bit of them being like, well, not really sure. I do think the one person system thing is a little interesting, but.
Right. I mean, they want to see if the Switch becomes that successful to the point where there are multiple family members, friends, whatever.
Right.
They assume a household has seeing multiple Switch sales, and until then they're going to ride this 3DS
so do you think
out.
Because there isn't really a practical way for them to determine what is like a one Switch per family versus versus like one Switch per person, right? There isn't really.
Or they think that their marketing teams do. They assess all this. It's through surveys and what. I mean,
the number of people,
all those Nintendo surveys we all took.
I love getting that. Got to get those My Nintendo rewards. No, it's true. I mean, or the family accounts coming up soon that everyone's going to exploit, and they're going to be like, "Wow, everyone's in a family of Switches." I guess my wonder is like,
actually that could kill the 3DS.
No, don't do it, guys.
A penny.
My wonder, I guess, is like for them, is it also just like a number? If they figure like, okay, 3DS, I think we talked about, sold about 75 million units. The Switch is just about a 20. If the Switch hits 40, are they going to say like, oh, that's like 2 a household, maybe like some proportion? If you figure there's like, okay,
right, what's the
said, okay, let's say a household is 2.5 3DSs. Let's just say, right, someone buys 2, or there's 2 kids. A traditional, nuclear family or whatever, the 4-person unit, and then like it
probably is 2. I imagine like
so if you
3DSs
if you figure that,
household.
then let's say okay, then there's 38 million units, so basically doubling what the Switch is at now. So if is that their way, like sneaky way of saying in a year's time we're going to start phasing out the 3DS fully, because that's basically what coincide with the 2019 thing.
I should have mentioned that this was a translation from some of their Q&A session after their investor briefing, where this news came out, and it was the question was around like, how long is the 3DS going to be around? How long are you going to support it? And they did say that they plan to support it within the next fiscal year.
We're on to Big Ed. We know what you're doing. We know that 3DS has one mediocre year left in it, and then you're done. So we see the tea leaves. I love the 3DS though, and I will miss it, but it will certainly go the way of the
I think there's something out there.
DS.
I think there might even be a new 3DS.
You really think
body style on the horizon?
I would be excited because I gotta touch it, but I really think no. But
save that for predictions.
Welcome to our predictions podcast. E3 is only a month away. Let's talk about it now, Matt. Okay, and our final thing.
I predict that Pokemon Go Fest will return to my home city here, Chicago, this summer, actually, and that's true. That is happening.
Okay,
and
1 point for you.
Last one.
Yeah, it went well. This is gutsy of them. I did not say ballsy because I would have been explicit. This was gutsy of them. So I do heads off, Niantic. You really took those electrodes right in your hands and Voltorbs and really shook them because it's impressive. Last time we talked about this, actually, I think it was one of the first things we talked about in our initial episodes because people were suing. There was like a class action lawsuit someone was trying to make.
Yeah.
And
from last year.
Yeah, interesting because a lot of their issues were network related. In that just like Verizon or whomever, this is what they blamed on at the time, right? Could not support that much data downloaded in such a concentrated area. It was too much for the few the cell towers or satellites or however it works. And the certainly satellites. And in any event though, so it makes me wonder: is their plan that there's going to be fewer people, or is their plan they're going to have a Wi-Fi system set up so people can just get onto Wi-Fi easily if the 3G, 4G, LTE thing is not working? I wonder. What's our contingency for this?
That's all great. They really don't talk about that too much. I will read a quote from one of the John Hankey, who
we
spoke with
big
IGN.
Hankey fans here on the pod, as we all
Good
know.
Old Hankey.
Gotta get your Hankey.
Good old Hankey.
Little Hankey. Explicit.
Oh yeah, so they do kind of talk about it. So all our major carriers are deploying COWs or cells on wheels.
Prisoners of war.
So there will be mobile network hotspots from all major carriers set up in such a way that we'll be able to deliver kind of a much wider, fuller coverage, efficient coverage for everybody throughout the park. And this is again happening in I believe Millennium Park downtown, which is where it happened last year. And they're going to be themed areas, so like they're gonna really kind of try to make it a little bit more robust.
Yeah,
than last year. It's like show up, stand around.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, they say fool me once, shame on Lugia. I am. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad there's a plan. I'm glad they're doing it. I have a lot of friends who still play. When's the last time you played?
Oh, probably last summer.
But I'm more physically fit than you, so it would make sense that I played more recently because I like the other steps. You know what I mean? Right. Because physique-wise, I'm a finer specimen. You would agree? I would just say that athletic capability.
if you're looking at the screenshot of your face on this YouTube podcast,
you can
clearly tell Austin he's the looker.
I'm pretty sure that when calculating BMI, We Fit on the balance board did the same thing. I took one measly little look at you and you're like, I don't know, obese. That was my experience at least, and I was like, don't tell me I'm that.
It was a really demoralizing moment. I actually lost a lot of faith in Nintendo that day.
Yeah, ever since it called me obese, it's like, you have some nerve, Nintendo. Some nerve to tell me what I can and can't continue to be. Okay,
How dare you tell me I lean more on my left foot?
I know. My balance is fine, thank you. This is not a fun game. Yes. Good. Those are good. That's good, Matt.
But it's interesting. I think that because it's close, I don't know.
You think it might go?
There's a 99% chance I won't check
You're not going to go.
But there's a part of me that's like, oh, this is happening. I live here.
No, it's super cool. Fine. Truly one of my very good friends. He is a friend growing up, and he plays all the time, and there's so many cool updates to the game. Right now, there's like a little bit of a story component, and there are missions you can go on to get legendaries, so like Mew, and you have to do like certain things, like evolve X number of water types, or catch X number of these types of Pokemon, or an evolution, or what have you. You get these number of candies for a certain Pokemon. It like gives you little challenges, which is really a neat idea, because then by completing them, you're working towards an exclusive legendary, and you can plan out whether or not you need that one for certain ones as well, because of course Pokemon's all about catching them all, and so if there's one that's eluding you, and it's like, but I can work at it, that's really promising. Right. Because for these friends, what they do is they're on a Discord group for the Portland area, and everyone will meet up, and they're like, hey, we're going to do a raid this weekend, we're all going for Entei, and we're meeting at Pioneer Courthouse Square. Like, that's very cool, there's that community, but it's such a barrier to entry. I mean, you need to be like invited into the Discord, you need to have a high enough level Pokemon to even be really a help at this, you need to be able to show up. So to have and that's the only way to get the Pokemon then, and then you have a percentage chance of getting it. So knowing you can work towards an opportunity to encounter them on your own terms, really cool. There's so many cool updates, I guess what I'm trying to say. Consistently new Gen Pokemon. Gen 3's out. It's neat to see that they're still passionate about it.
Tickets go on sale in 3 days, actually.
Wow.
$20 for a pass.
Or 1 year of Nintendo online services, so.
I will say that that would be awesome if they if they gave you a free and with this just to say we're sorry again.
Hey, exactly. I like
no, I think their strategy's cool. I think they need to really step their game up with this one. But I am so down for this concept. I wish that when Street Pass was in its heyday. I would go on to meetup.com and I would look for Street Pass meetups in Los Angeles.
Christian Mingle, I was there too.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Actually, I have a funny story about CatholicsMeet.com.
All right, then there we go.
And a blind date that I was set up on.
That'll be our next confessional.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So we do that a lot in this podcast. Drop little subtle hints at personal stories.
Right. Some of them
we're going to leave the audience wanting.
I'm wanting too. I learned about the wisdom teeth. I learned about your Christian Catholic lover, which is great, and I hope she's well. And I know you'll be too happy together.
Worst date ever. Oh my gosh.
Well, that could be fine. I'm sure it works out very well for a great amount of people.
I think it's so super cool that this exists, and if the Switch had any sort of Street Pass functionality or anything that's just get out there and do something and gain some cool in-game thing for it, I would be there. Especially I paid $20. I paid $20 to be in a Splatoon tournament, which I've talked about at length on this podcast.
Nintendo
before.
online services that are a bonus. If in that infrastructure they roll in a more meaningful way to pull their very aggressive phone strategy in with a Nintendo Switch Online, it would be cool to start seeing games. Pokemon Go, of course, not strictly made by Nintendo, but it would be neat to see that cross functionality that can make up for the pedometer features and the exploration features that the 3DS had and the Switch does not. So let's hope they do something like that. And if they don't, they're dead to me, and that's the stakes. Exactly.
And that's all the news we have. It's been, it's with the exception of the last hour, it's been
besides that, not much to talk
about. So we're coming at you next week with some, just chat about Donkey Kong and some other stuff that Nintendo throws at us.
Yes, absolutely. We want to talk about that because Tropical Freeze featuring Funky Mode out on the Switch now. I didn't pick it up. Matt didn't pick it up. We're going to talk about it as if we did.
We both owned it on the Wii U, not the Funky Edition.
Not the Funky Edition. I was not funky. Never accused of that, unfortunately. But God knows I've tried.
No funk to be had.
No funk here. Funk free zone, kids. Move along. Take off those shades and those do-rags. We want you to put on a tie. You're going to work.
Put away those surfboards.
Put away that laissez-faire attitude. This is strictly cranky business here. That's the kind of Kong humor you can maybe look forward to next week.
I'm actually going to go back and play a little bit of Tropical Freeze.
I'm sure I'm going to buy it and just crack like everything else in my life. I'm like, I don't need Kirby. Actually, though, I will say this. I wanted to say I played Kirby last night. I beat the first world, so I'm sorry I'm going so slowly. But that game is so easy. I do wish it was more challenging or at least had a little more going on, but it is such a visual treat. It continues to be. It is just jam-packed with the menus and the icons. And I'm like, oh, man, I was having kind of a stressful work weekend. And it was like, this is a very, I see this appeal for sure. And it's cute and fun and pleasant. And very impressed on that one. So, there you go.
I can't wait to hear more about it.
You might not.
Talk about Donkey Kong and get into whatever else Nintendo has to throw at us next week on another Nintendo podcast. If you have any other
dental surgeries, that'll be the time to figure out. So I can't wait to learn.
I'll let you know if I lose any more teeth.
Right. If there's a root canal coming up for any of us, I might need some gum repair on my top right. So you know what? Stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe.
Woo! All right.
Okay.
Have a great night, everyone, or day, or do whatever, enjoy whatever you're doing next.
I'm going to take us out with a little bit of a Donkey Kong tune. You ready for this?
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah, what up at Funky Kong? Yeah, I'm here to stay. Okay, that's it. I hope this is cut long before.
We should have did the DK rap. What was that?
Donkey Kong. So we're finally here.
Here.
Performing for you.
For
Put your
you.
hands together for the DK crew. They're bigger, stronger,
DK.
faster, harder. Anyway.
All right, we'll see you in another Nintendo podcast. Bye.
Performing for you.